Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting edition of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt, the Game Boy, will talk you through the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time. This week we'll be focusing on another hidden gem in Japanuary. It's Chalvo 55. To a British retro gamer obsessed with Nintendo handhelds, it was always strange to think that there's one that never made it to South Walian shores, the Virtual Boy. The invention of Gunpei Yokoi, the man behind the original Game Boy we all hold near and dear, was, as most of you already know, a headset-like device played with a controller that let gamers experience 3D graphics right out of the box. It was a commercial failure, lasting less than a year on retail shelves in the US and Japan, with Europe not even getting a look in. But that's not to say that the Virtual Boy didn't have any good ideas. The system is actually home to a small handful of decent games such as Mario Tennis and Wario Land. But it's one particular title for the Virtual Boy that didn't get a physical release that we'll be looking at in this video, a little game called Bound High. As the Virtual Boy began to slump in sales, Nintendo latched onto any game it saw potential in, planning to relaunch the system with a stronger library. Nintendo bolstered the development of two such games it saw potential in to become its killer apps. One called Dragon Hopper, an overhead action-adventure in a similar vein to The Legend of Zelda, and Bound High, a game developed originally by Japan System Supply, before Nintendo stepped in to do the heavy lifting. I've not played it, but you can find a great review of the game over at Johan Oberg's channel that gives a great overview of it. Unfortunately, the relaunch of the Virtual Boy never came to be, meaning the world never got to experience Dragon Hopper or Bound High. But seeing potential in the design of Bound High's lead character Chalvo, and taking the design concept of the Virtual Boy's bouncing attack, its breathtaking score and some of the game's enemy design, Japan System Supply set about making a game that hoped to introduce Chalvo to the world. The player takes control of the titular bouncing robot to defend Earth against alien invaders. It's your mission to hop around their ship and defeat these intergalactic invaders by finding 5 gems hidden around the game's 8 stages, before facing off against a boss at the end of each level that needs to be killed by bouncing on its head. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, for the most part, it is. Chalvo's main enemies can easily be killed with a well-timed bop to the bonce, but Chalvo never stops bouncing in ball mode, meaning you'll have to turn into Robo Chalvo to move around in a controllable fashion. It's this main mechanic borrowed from the Virtual Boy Bonanza that makes and breaks Chalvo. While mastering the game's bounce mechanics are the key to success here, it can take a little while to get to grips with it at first. But around the 3rd level is where the difficulty starts to ramp up at a dizzying rate, throwing in spikes, unkillable enemies, and a whole host of tricky traps the player needs to overcome, really earning the subtitle Super Puzzle Action. Be this pushing boxes, impeccably precise jumps and near misses, Chalvo is the kind of game that will really challenge you, whatever your preferred level of difficulty. Chalvo is almost chess-like in its approach in the later stages. You'll enter a room, check the game's map with the start button to see the room's exits, then use the select button to pan around the room with no penalty to the player. As you can see, there is no time limit in Chalvo 55, as this is a game that rewards patience. Some rooms need you to look ahead and faultlessly bounce over falling platforms, which can be incredibly frustrating when a slightly short bounce sends you to your one-shot death amongst the game's seemingly unlimited spike traps. The game's bosses are no pushover either, starting with a few battles that simply involve avoiding moving blocks between bounces, that soon escalate to moving pistons and more fiendishly hostile hurdles to overcome. Repeatedly dying on a boss and a level will result in a game over screen, but fortunately the game offers unlimited continues and a password system to boot, meaning when the game gets too much, you can put it down and come back later. As mentioned almost in the intro, Chalvo 55 took its music from Bound High, and with good reason. The soundtrack is breathtaking, from its title right through to its credits. The music was composed by Takeaki Oka, who it seems unfortunately only worked on Chalvo 55, which I'm sure you will all agree is a shame, as it is truly one of the greatest soundtracks on the system. More unfortunate still, Chalvo 55 would be the only title to be physically released in this series, and never outside of its native Japan. Perhaps because by the time Japan's System Supply self-published the title in 1997, the newer addition to Nintendo's handheld family, the Game Boy Color, was only a few months away, but I would hazard a guess at it also being something to do with its gameplay being deemed too difficult for a Western audience. Seriously, I tried my damnedest to beat Chalvo 55, I really did. It's why this video is so late. It's really, really fucking hard. I got to stage 7, the last but one level, before I had to admit defeat. There's even a 9th mapless stage for crazy people, filled with all manner of spikes, booby traps, and the stench of dead bouncing robots. But I didn't beat this either. I will, however, finish the last stages of this game so I can do in all the glory, but until then, you should track down a copy or play it via emulation for yourself. Trust me, Chalvo 55 is a challenge, but you won't be disappointed. And that brings us to the end of another Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, then please subscribe for more videos, and if you're new to the channel, check out some of our other content, which is the Boyographic series, where I look at the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time, usually releasing these every Friday. You can also check out some Boy Curious videos, where I look at bootlegs and oddities for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, as well as the pre-mentioned All the Glory, where I play through a game, cutting out all of the deaths, leaving you with none of the faff, but all of the glory. Until next week, Game Boys and Girls, where I'll return with another title in Japanuary. Game on.